Howdy, y'all, and welcome to Volume 8 of our Songwriter series here at Wilson Valley Mercantile. We're joined with our host, Ely Buck Davis, and guest, Rian Castillo. Thanks. Howdy, guys. Thank y'all for joining us today, and glad to have our host, Ely Buck Davis, and our guest for the next roundup, Rian Castillo. The next roundup, speaking of, will be the 19th of September. So, guys, thank y'all for being here. And I tell you, Ryan, why don't you just start off and tell us a little bit about you and your music and how
Yeah,
you got started in this life that you're a part of.
gosh. Well, my name is Rian Castillo. I'm a native son of the great city of Elgin, Texas.
Elgin, Texas.
Just a stone's throw from Austin, yeah. Good old Elgin, Texas. So I started very young. I was in a musical family. My father played drums, and from that, me and my twin brother kind of took a delve into music. I've played pretty much all my life. That started kind of like when I was around 3 years old. 5, 6 was kind of when I started getting into performing. And throughout my teenage years in high school, I was always, pretty much, playing out with my brother. Me and my twin brother had a group. Later, eventually, we became a three piece. And then I pursued my talent further at South Plains College in Levelland, Texas. I was very fortunate to be there for 2.5 years. And pretty much ever since then, I've been writing, recording, and performing my music as well as covers. So I'm very thankful to have been around a lot of great musicians and a lot of great people. And I try to utilize that into everything I do as well as my songwriting.
Well, you talk about your songwriting. What is your style and what are your influences?
Yeah, I can I could say my music it kind of boils down to Texas music. It's a kind of a variety of Texas different styles of Texas music, whether that's honky tonk, western swing. I grew up loving rock and roll, so there are some sort of rockabilly inflections into my things. And I also grew up around Tejano music as well. So I always genuinely like to say Texas music just because it's such a variety of different styles for me.
Yeah.
So
Well, I've got a very stereotypical question that you've been asked before, but I knew that you had a twin brother, but I kind of forgot about it. And I'm just curious, did y'all ever? You're a instrumentalist, I know. So did y'all ever switch instruments and kind of, switch names in front of anybody? Switch places is what
probably
I'm trying to say.
yeah, probably we've probably been in some cases we've probably been accused for being each other at different times. But the funny thing is the only instrument that we both play is the drums. Yeah, my brother he always just stuck to drums. I'm sure if he had wanted to, he probably could have pursued other instruments. I take that back. He did play a melodica once, and he was like, "Hey, can you play these keys? I just bought this new instrument." He didn't even know what it was, and
Yeah.
I said, he said, "Hey, can I borrow this?" Or he said, "Can you play some notes on this and show me what I need to do?" I'm like, "Yeah." So being the piano player that I am, I showed him a few notes on the melodicas. Yeah, drums and melodica is his thing, but of course, me, I was just a whole other animal, playing guitar and piano and everything. So
I've got a melodica. I think I need to let John's kids play with it and see if they don't drive
yeah,
him
yeah,
crazy.
I'm sure they would love
They're
it.
I
they're
don't.
very fun to play with, but I can.
My kids don't need help driving me crazy.
Right.
So you said piano player. We have a house piano, so if you want to play that at the roundup, that'll be perfectly a-okay,
Yes,
man.
sir. Yeah.
But Ely teases every now and then when nobody's around and plays like 3 or 4 bars and then quits.
Hmm.
I keep hoping that he's going to actually do something with the
When the
piano,
camera's
but
not rolling.
the
Play a
camera's
full
always
song.
rolling in the tasting room, Ely, always. So I asked about your music style, and I stumbled across something I thought was pretty entertaining. I assume it's or maybe it's a good description. Tex Mex Tonk and roll.
Yeah,
Is that
yeah,
something is that something you described it as, or is that something somebody else described you
yeah.
as?
That was something that I kind of threw together just because of naturally just loving all those different kinds of music. Uh,
I like that. Pretty
Thank
original.
you. Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, it was kind of like it was a mix because of course I loved, of course I grew up mainly just a 90s kid, you could say. I was born in 95. I'm dating myself, but was brought up on a lot of that music. He's in 90s country specifically. I guess I could mention anybody and everybody. The Dwight Yoakams, the George Strait, Garth Brooks, Alan Jackson, etc. The funny thing is that was kind of my gateway to going further back into my roots. My great grandfather had a record collection of all kinds of stuff, and at the same time, just music around me as well. I was hip to a lot of things, and I was a big music nerd, I guess, growing up too as well. So
Do you have that on a sticker or a shirt anywhere? I feel like you should because I've got a friend that does like Louisiana honky tonk
hmm
music, but so
yeah.
he has his name and then it says Swamp Tonk or Swampy Tonk or something like that. I'm like,
Hmm.
that's kind of cool if you threw that. that on a sticker or a shirt or something,
Yeah. I have a couple of merch ideas I'm planning for probably the end of the year, going into next year. So I'm hoping to at least incorporate that somewhere. For a long time, I did have some koozies that said kind of the same thing, Tex Mex Tonk and roll, but there were a few we'll say some illicit words in Spanish that we threw on there. And this was right about the time, I had kind of started kicking around the idea of just having another group again. Thankfully, there's a few limited quantity of those running around somewhere.
Nice.
You've got a full band you play with, yes? What the tell us about it and the name and inspirations for it.
Oh yeah. Uh, as I had mentioned, throughout my 20s, I was kind of mainly working with, my early to mid 20s. I was working with a lot of different groups. Did have a couple of incarnations of my own group. We kind of went under the Ryan C Band moniker. And right about 2020, 21, I was kind of still writing a little bit and trying to get my feet back. I never had stopped playing or writing, but as time went on, I was kind of just getting more focused on that. That was when Texas Indigo kind of came up, the early version of Texas Indigo, the early kind of, what's the word? The first kind of evolution of it, I guess, is because I was playing with a group in Manchaca Springs in Austin, Texas. I was working with them, and we had kind of started a group. At the time, we didn't have a bass player, though. We had a couple of guys kind of fill in, but we didn't have a reliable bass player. Enter in Brent Hazard, a good friend of mine, and actually he was with a guy by the name of Lucky Tub, who was Ernest's nephew, one of the descendants of Ernest Tubb. And so he had done some time with him on the road and played in a lot of different groups as well. And naturally, me and him just developed a chemistry together that was very solid, and it was very rootsy. He came from kind of a punk background and at the same time psychobilly. I, on the other hand, I naturally had just a lot of different experiences with music. And my rhythm kind of, when I play a little bit electric guitar and things like that, it's a little bit more looser and aggressive. And so it just naturally clicked. My twin brother would play drums from time to time, and then we got blessed with our friend Jamie Foster, who's our drummer. And so that's been an outfit for the last probably 3 or 4 years. I'm very thankful that it took some time to really develop that sound, what I was looking for, but I'm very thankful that it's kind of come to fruition as it has.
I got a question about, so I try to stay up to date and, well educated on the different subgenres of country that I love so much. But psychobilly, just to give me a reference, would that be like Hank the Third?
Yeah,
Am
it
I
would. Yeah, it would kind of be like sort of some of the stuff that Hank the Third did. Reverend Horton Heat is always I would guess some people call the standard of that kind of the innovators of psychobilly. It was very much like very rockabilly instrumentation, but then there's still a lot of attitude around
gotcha?
it. So yeah, but it's a lot of
Okay,
fun.
yeah, John.
Drawing a blank. I needed a little bit more time to come up with questions.
Don't worry, Ryan. We're going to edit out all. Or I say
Yeah,
we. John's going
All,
to
all,
edit
all
out
all
all
the
the
nonsense will be
awkward.
you gotta
gone.
have we gotta have at least a few bloopers on here. I'm sure there's got to be one or two.
So
Well,
what
so
we're asking, what's something that you want people to know about your music, or even better yet, what's something that if you were talking to somebody, or hell, if you were talking to yourself when you were getting started, what's something you wish somebody would have told you?
Oh man. I would tell the little kid that was working on music in his parents' washroom. I would tell him to just take in every experience that you can. One of the things about my writing, and especially like with my music, that I've realized is every experience that I've had, I can utilize. I may not be able to utilize it in that moment or realize what's going on in that moment, but when time goes on, I can kind of keep those somewhere in my back pocket, and it could just be a secondhand experience I happen to have at a gig. It could be what should I do different on stage, little different things like that, or just what's an experience of the human condition. Some of the songs that I've written, they're very personal, and in some ways they're in one way or another they're a reflection of my life, but also just the lessons that I've learned. And that's kind of where I've been lately with writing. I hadn't really, like, usually most of my songs are kind of, party or drinking. They're real typical honky tonk themes. But as time has gone on, I've kind of been a little bit more introspective about my writing to where I'm actually writing about different experiences that I've had and lessons I've learned. So that's what I would say. Just make the
I
most of
would
what you have.
I think that as you continue to write and grow as a songwriter, that you have to become more introspective because
Hmm.
your songwriting grows as you grow. So
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
I've always found that interesting too, to see the growth. Like some of the people that I really look up to, I get disappointed when they take down their older catalog, because
Yeah.
they get a record deal, and the record deal is like, hey, all this stuff that you did on your own, this independent stuff, you need to scratch that. Nobody, because we want, when someone looks up your name on Spotify or whatever, it goes directly to this project.
Mhm.
But then I also know people. Like Brent Cobb, I'll throw his name out there. You can find the stuff that he put out independently when he was 16, 17 years old.
Right, right.
And he may not be as proud of that anymore, but at the same time, it's like you can see that growth from that point to him now in his 40s. And I want to do the same thing. I've got stuff on there that I kind of laugh at, but I'm like, I don't want to take it. Part of me wants to take it down, but the other part is
Mhm.
like, no, I want one day someone to see that growth as well. I don't want people to think that I just all of a sudden ended up here.
Right, right. Yeah, and it's always a great snapshot of just where you are in that time frame.
Yeah.
That's probably one of my favorite things that Garth Brooks said about, I guess, when he was trying to have his own streaming service, or it was a subscription service. I think it was called Ghost
Well, I
Tunes
didn't
or
hear about
something like
that.
that. Yeah, this was right. Yeah, this was right. I guess he was still trying to. He might have been conversating with. I could be entirely wrong about it, but there was a thing called Ghost Tunes, and that's where you could basically access the records. Long story short, the reason he believed in selling the album as it was, like the full complete album, and not just cherry picking, singles, or just having the singles only option or whatever album only option, was because
Yeah.
of the fact that just an album itself is just a snapshot of who you are. And so I've always kind of admired that. And like you said, it's just a reflection of the evolution of your work. So I've always admired that as well.
Yeah. I admire when people write for an album too, and not just write to fill up an album. You know what I'm saying? Like there's a difference between writing for this concept versus writing just to fill in gaps. You got a couple of singles you
Right.
want to put on the radio, and the rest of it just filler. Like I don't like that. I want it
Yeah.
to all make sense.
Absolutely. Yeah.
have a
The
solid
beautiful
album, not
thing.
just a hodgepodge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep.
Ely, what burning questions do you have for our guest?
Well, so where I'm from, Northeast Texas, we've got this is an oddball question, but I just thought about it earlier. So we've got the timber rattler, we've got the water moccasin, your average grass snake, but what is the Texas Indigo? What is the story behind that? What made you pick that for a band name?
Well, a part of it was a friend, and a part of it was just the fact that I was kind of in another group that was under a snake moniker, and
Oh,
I had kind of parted ways with that group on some unfortunate, I guess, unfortunate for them, but fortunate for me circumstances.
I didn't mean to bring
And
up some
so,
beef, but I think I know where
yeah,
this is
yeah, no,
going
but this
now.
is a great story, though. I mean,
Okay.
we can sip on whiskey and tell this story. But it was a like I said, going back into learning experience is I'd learned. It was kind of a way of being thankful, but also at the same time it was another stepping stone as
Mm,
well. Even though it ended very difficultly with that group, there were still a lot of lessons within that time frame that we had kind of worked together, that we were able to kind of be Texas Indigo. And so our good friend Kevin Smith from the Liberty Tree Tavern,
yeah. Kevin gets a
he
lot of
was.
shout outs on this podcast.
Yeah,
He
yeah,
does.
I have to
He
send
gets
a
talked
shout
about
out to
pretty
Mr.
regularly.
Kevin. So, and I've known him since I was 13 years old. One of the, one of the most wonderful guys I've worked with in playing music. Always gave me a home, even when I didn't have one musically. And so he was kind of around when I was going through the chaos of that, the chaos and the elegance of it. And he said, "Hey," he says, you should probably name your band." He says, now that you're on your own, he says, "You're kind of, you're on your own again." He says, "But you're doing, you still got your group and stuff." I was like, he says, you might as well name him Texas Indigo." He says, "Because they eat rattlesnakes." And so I was like, okay, that sounds kind of cool. And that was the beginning of that. And that's when it became Texas Indigo. And
Nice. I like that.
Yeah,
yeah, for
that's
sure.
pretty slick. Is there anything else you want to tell folks?
No, I just want to say I'm looking forward to being back. I think I was there once in the very, like, I guess about a year and a half ago, or it might have been a
It's
year
been a
ago
little
at this
while.
point.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm very much looking forward to being back and playing some originals and playing some stuff that I've been working on as well.
So, but
I'm not sure that we had the keys on the stage last time. Did you play the keys for us at
Yeah,
all?
yeah. Uh-huh. Yeah, I did. I played
Okay, they
them on
must have
played
just
them on
got
keys.
moved. Okay.
Yeah. I guess they had just gotten put up there or something of that effect. And I just kind of picked around on it and I was like, oh, wait, this sounds really good. So,
Well, it's been
but
tuned since then, so it'll be ready for you when you get here.
yes, sir. Oh, no, I'm looking forward to playing it. It'll be a
Funny
great
story
time.
about the keys. I had somebody new reach out to me about playing the tasting room. I don't know, sometime in the last couple of weeks, and I've got basically a form email that I send back just with the upfront details because I don't have a whole lot of time to BS around things.
Right.
So, anyways, in that email, I list, we've got a drum kit, we've got a house piano, we've got blah 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 blah, and the guy's response was, I'd happily play your house piano if it's been tuned. It's been tuned, so
Yeah.
I don't like out of tune instruments either.
Yes, sir.
I do think that it's about time to call the tuner back out there. I think there's one key that's a little out of whack, but for the most part, it sounds pretty darn good.
Yes, sir.
Well, thank y'all for being with us here today, and look forward to seeing y'all at the next roundup in a couple of weeks, or in a week and a half, I guess. Again,
Yes, sir.
September 18th will be the next roundup here at Wilson Valley Mercantile.
Yep. We'll see you then, Ryan.
Thank y'all.
Awesome. Thank y'all very much, guys. Appreciate y'all.
Later.